The heating system of the car equipped with the vapor zone, company zone, heating of the zone, heating system with the sleep in the car prior to the 1947 with the cover of the AC manual with the later zone heating system. Certain devices have been eliminated, other improved with the Bronify with the simplification operation of the maintenance figure 83 show the layout. Vapor heating. Regulator. The new 955 vapor regulator figure 84 is the heart of the heating system and the performance function of the three different former vapor zone systems, namely with the number 901 regulator, the number 244 constant pressure valve with the number 1651 flow limiting valve and the function with the regulating steam supply with the maintain constant supply with the steam in the loop, and then show the figure in vapor the vapor number to the 955 regulator with the new style with the coil housing. Steam train with the pressure for the inlet side with the regulator, wherever the passive with the train with the number to 24. 2 with CC needle with the valve with the stem with the needle valve with the spring load with the as set with the reduce with the steam pressure at 40 pounds. Adjustment of the setting of it can be made with the screw under the large with the acorn nut with the left hand front end of the regulator. Sheet figure 86 and 85. So, the steam at the reduced pressure for the flow with the core port and with the top of the casing with the regulator side with the regulator number to the 900Q with the needle valve with assembly with the top of the number 900E economy diaphragm at the bottom of the action with the economy diaphragm transmitted through the operating and assembly with the fulcrum and then acting with again with the needle valve C figure 87. Regulated steam path through the needle valve with the outlet side with the regulator C with the regulated steam passes through another port with the flow limiting valve with the preferring. The pressure from the supply loop with the limited from the flow limit with the chamber to reach with the 12 pound with the spring pressure with the flow limiting valve will overcoming the valve will pop open with allowing the steam to pass within the diaphragm chamber. This will cause the bellows diaphragm to expand with the clove of the regulator needle valve. This cycle will repeat itself with the flow limiting valve opening and closing rapidly to maintain 12 pound with the pressure in the loop with the V figure 88. Figure 88-3 show the 83 show the steam heating special floors, air conditioner, special air conditioner, thermo stabilizer, floor heating, overhead heat, water heating layout for it's the heating layout for the NYNHNR 14 Romiette 4 double bedrooms. And then show the wash water heating, train line specialties, water tank filling, protection clamps and stands, radiation, and it gives the name. Number 555 vapor regulator user assembly. Show the we'll start with A from the 12 o'clock bell assembly spell spring containers pressure adjustment screw cooling plunger. Use screw drive through fulcrum bracket operating plunger manually sponge springer the gasket plunger retainer line valve assembly gasket strainer the needle valve assembly, and then from B 12 o'clock around clockwise needle valve complete economy diaphragm screen the operating rod shield the bellow compensator operating rod spring operating arm adjusting screw operating arm pivot, and then bellow retaining nut and bellow complete. And C, we see the make the reduced pressure gasket at this point, and then the make loop pressure gauge test at this point. Alright, shows 2 of the loop, and then from the return line of the 1955 regulator old style coil housing showing steam circuit, and then it shows a picture of a regulator side number 55 regulator. Notice the springs in the pipe brackets. 2 loop return line. Number 55 regulator, new style coil housing showing steam circuit. Alright, the flow limit valve with a 64 volt with the DC operated solenoid with the control by the layover T with the relay with the main control panel with the valve with the normally de-energized with the heating with except with the underlaying of the control with the cooling system turned on the valve energized with the prohibited steam loop press with the number 55 and number 53 regulators identical with the number 55 regulator with except with the U with the 3 pound flow limit spring with the U with the flow heat circle with the number 958 regulators identical to the number 55 regulator except with the U with the 8 pound with the flow limit spring with U with the overhead with the circuit. Number 56 regulator is the same with the number 55 regulator except that it's not equipped with the solenoid coil with the number 595. The 959 regulator is the same with the number 958 regulator except that it's not equipped with the solenoid coil with the number 57957. And type of regulator is adaptation for the number 955 type of the being equipped with the 957. TT single type drain with the tube with the permit with the control with the bell with the return steam with the not provided solenoid coil. See figure 89 with the part list solenoid assembly emission valve with the several types with the solenoid emission valve with the furnace with the last zone with the heating system valve number 16, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77 are the floor heat with the number 60, 68, 16, 68 overhead heat heat with a figure 90. Show the typical floor heat with emission valve with a figure 91. Show the 1668 emission valve with the lease valve with also with the same general construction with the minor variation with the suit with the insulation condition with the off with the resetting of the manual off with the manual on automatic. The use of the lever the front valve with the winch tab with the automatic. The valves are under thermostatic control with the floor with the head with the heat the valve body with the vacuum breaker screw fitting it into the return chamber. The screw with the debris removed only with the valve that you with the heat radiation for the over the 40-foot length. All valve with the furnace with either right hand, left hand side with the tube with the insulation, right hand valve with an outlet with the right side with the lever arm, with the left hand valve with the head with the outlet with the left side with the lever arm. All floor heat valve with the normally operative done with the spring tension with the close with only when the solenoid valve with the energized variation for the detail of the valve. See figure 92, 93, 94, number 5, 96. True needle valve assembly U with the floor heat valve with the number 1671 cc and 1675 cc. All with the needle valve assembly marked with the part number of the brim with the actuator with the identifiable the glands between the difference inside of the valve, the needle with the portion of the valve, the needle with the protrude with the blue, the bottom of the needle with the valve with the 35/64 of an inch on the number 1671 cc and the 26/64 of an inch on number 1675 cc with the number 67 solenoid emission valve with electrically operated valve with the unit pin flow radiation A 3332 from the orifice C with the inside of the return chamber with the valve with the axle of the retaining steam radiation eliminates the use of the valve with the retard with the returning pipe with the loop under with the car with the overcar cap over the return chamber to the figure 316 with an inch hole has the end of the valve with the valve that has been fitted with the orifice C with the valve is used with the square with the fin radiation is under 40 feet in length with the valve with the used for the number 1675 with the CC needle valve assembly number 1672 solenoid valve with emission electrically operated U with the unit fin floor radiation for the valve has outlet with the feed two pieces with the radiation at the same time. Number 1671 EE bellow the assembly installed with the two return chamber with the valve with the release tank steam and radiation eliminating with the use of the valve with the tar with the returning pipe with the loop under the car. Cap over the return chamber that undrove with the number 1671 with the CC needle valve assembly, all part of the interchangeable with the 1671 valve except for the valve body. The number 1673 with the solenoid emission valve with the electrically operative valve with the Vulcan fin floor with the radiation that does not have the orifice with the valve with the retarder. Therefore, the retarder must be installed with the return spring with a loop under the car with the cap over the return chamber with a 1.5 inch hole over the indicated valve. Is not equipped with the retarder with the orifice with the 1671 CC with the needle valve with the assembly with the used all parts of the interchange with the number 1671 valve except with the cap over the return chamber. The number 1674 solenoid valve with the solenoid assembly emission valve is electrically operated with the valve with the unit pin flow radiation with the valve that has outlet with two outlets with the two pieces with the radiation at the same time, or with either installed with the two return chambers of the valve. The return of the steam with the radiation eliminates U with the bell, retard with the returning pipe with the loop under with the car, the cap over the return chamber is a 3/16 inch hole with identified with the valve with the fitted with the orifice, all of the parts with the valve with the interchangeable with the number 1671, except for the body with the valve with the number 1671 CC and the needle valve with assembly with the number 1675 solenoid emission valve with the electrically operative valve with the unit pin floor radiation. Number 1671 AEE bellows assembly is installed with the return chamber with the valve with the axe with the retains aim and radiation eliminates the use of the bellows retard with the return pin piping is deliberately under the car with the valve with the lowest radiation with the need with the 1965 with the CC needle valve with assembly used cap over the return chamber with the unit undrilled and all parts of the except with the needle valve assembly with the cap over the return chamber with the interchange with the number 1671 valve. Alright, then it shows your picture of the list of part of the 955T draining tube jacket T, inner tube, ununion coupler, figure 89, list of the number 440TT drain tube and jacket, vapor safe control regulation parts and lists. Shows a typical floor heating emission valve. And then list of parts for your figure 91. Solenoid steam emission valve, control arm assembly, cup, spring cup, gasket, seat, orifice, screw, vacuum cleaner, cap, screw, hex head, section B, C, section B, B, A, nut sealing, retainer, operating rod assembly, packing set, needle valve assembly. Cam arm, control arm assembly with a nut sealing retainer. B section CC operating rod assembly packaging coil spring CCA section BB cap screw hex head caps 1672 gasket bellows 1672 valve section A screw vacuum bagger knee valve assembly. Then it shows a picture of the 1674 emission valve, 1673 emission valve with the spring seal retainer, operating rod, packaging, cap screw A and section A. 1668 emission valve with the operating rod with the sealing retained spread with the lock nut core of the coil gasket, flux ring, manual control cam, pinned operating rod, needle valve assembly, tighten bolts evenly, figure 96. Alright, the number 1676 with the Illinois valve, the emission valve with the electrically operated valve, the U with the valve confirmed floor, radiator with the valve that has two valves with the P with the two piece with the radiation at the same time. The this valve does not either the or seat with the bell retarder. In return, the chamber there for the retarder must be installed with the returning piping. From each pipe of the radiation loop of the under of the cover, that's number 1671 CC with the needle valve with some of the U with the parts of the interchangeable with the number 1672 valve. Number 1677 is the Illinois submission valve with the electrically operated valve used of the unit floor and pin floor radiation. 1671 EE bellows assembly installed with the return chamber of the valve that acts with the retaining steam of the radiation eliminates U with the valve of the retarded in return spring piping of the loop under the cover of the gap over the return chamber to undrill with the number 1671 CC needle valve assembly U with the parts interchangeable with the number 1671 valve. Number 1668 the Illinois steam admission valve with the electrically operated valve with the U for the overheaded heat. Some of the floor heat valve with the have been and bolt but constructed slightly different with the valve with the return chamber with the steam feed with the valve with the radiator with the outlet with the radiators connected with the direct with the returning pipe under the car with the valve with normally closed with under the spring tension with the needle valve with assembly different with the before heat valves and the solenoid coil with the interchangeable valve with mounted with the overhead radiator with the number 1643 manual remote control cab the U with the hand operation. Radiation. The floor heats the radiation divided into three or more zones with each of the zone radiation armed with the independent control with the separate thermostat with the heat supply with the need with a particular zone with both the unit fan and Vulcan fan radiation or U with the figure 97 to 98. A common floor heating circuit with the steam that is taken from the train line with the trainer with the number S7 S124 shut-off valve, the drain valve with the number 555 regulator steam supply loop over the outlet with the regulator drain tube is divided into feed and return portion with the number 920 loop retarder with the retorter stops with the reserved steam in the feed portion of the loop with the condensate with the form of the feed portion with the piping relief through the number 22 retarder into the return portion of the loop. Steam with the feed portion of the supply loop flows through the number 912 with the water seal fitting of the solenoid emission valve with the sum of the feed with this valve with the radiator into the radiator. Condensation with the forms outer tube of the radiator with the return of the valve body outlet with the return portion of the loop. Then number 955 TT drain tube regulator one or more valve that may be operated on each of the supply loop with the same circle that will be each for the same. Each one figure 99 shows the circuit. When the steam pressure with the supply loop reaches 3 or 8 pounds, the flow limit valve of the regulator opens with the steam is emitted into the regulator bellows chamber. The bellows expand the shut off the steam supply condensate with the bellows chamber drains through inner portion of the drain tube of the overhead heating system to fresh recirculated air coordinated with the temperature of the main of the overhead reader. Smile with the back evaporator as part of the AC unit with the steam of the radiator with the supply with the minor similar with the floor heat except with no water seal. Fitting issue with the typical overhead circuit is shown in figure 100. Number 912 water seal with the fitting of the preserver to keep the steam emission valve from being heated while the off position explained with the number 2441 AC manual steam feed portion supply loop flows through the water sealing fitting in the inside of the emission valve. Or repairs and testing, check for the cause of the steam blowing regulator, blowing of the steam with the outer drain with the tube with the number 955. The regulator indicates defective retard, which should be located as valve with the number 1671, 67, and 4 valve used on the loop of the blowing with the outer drain with the tube of the regulators, tube with the faulty valve with the loop retarder. In the case of the number 1668 valve with the tube of the overhead radiators blowing with the valve with the energized indicator of the blower of the fan failure. In all cases, the blowing continue with the all valve shut off with the bellows and loop retarders faulty below the steam and the inner drain tube. The number 55 regulator indicate with the defective regulator trouble can be located as valves. If the dirt is lodged between the vapor valve and the sheet of the regulator, it can be dislodged with the closing the S124. Shut off the valve within a few minutes, reopening the valve with the blow. Continue with the thermostatic bellows with the problem the defect the check with the cover of the regulator with the not feeding the steam to the system lever. R. Adjust loose C. Shop test number 55 regulator item 6. Several things that may interfere with the number 55 regulator supplying steam to the system. The following checks should be made, but be sure the S124 valve is open under the sheet with the flow limited valve to prevent the proper aeration broke with the missing with the inner drain, allowing steam from the returning pipe with the actuator with the 900E bellows. Clog strainer. If the strainer is found with the regulator side with the shown with the figure 89 is to be removed with the discard lever and adjustment if too tight. See shop test of the 95.5 regulator item 6. To free the dirt under the flow limiting valve, the insert of the screwdriver through the rectangular opening under the bracket of the rear valve, the U of the bracket, the fulcrum, push up the plunger, hold it into the position. Pressure will equalize. Additional steam will have the flushing action of the fittings of the provide with the regulator platform mounting steam gauge to determine the operating pressure for the fitting closing. The inlet with the U of the check with the reducing valve pressure for the opposite fitting. U of the check with the loop pressure for the common indicate for the reducing point portion regulator laying set with the high pitch for the side with the regulator with the test gauge with the regulators reducing pressure test. Fitting see figure 101 if the pressure varies from 10% from the 40-pound thing with the regulator definitely defective. When the regulator definitely defective, it can be used for the remove of the disengage with the clamp and adjust support with the racket break with the 3 unit with this new regulator can be quickly applied with the old regulator tested and shove the test racket and shop with the see the test instruction which is follows. Alright, and escape of the steam through the telltale hole with the pressure reducing valve with the spring bonded with the indicator with the rupture with the bellows steel with the enclosing spring with the necessary replace with the seal and order to the correct with the condition. Alright, shop test with the number 55 regulator, make up the test assembly shown below with the end one end of the restriction. Also having 1/4 inch orifice. Connect the inlet side with the steam line, connect with the above the fitting outlet side with the regulator. Forward rise of the plunger flow, limiting valve all the way up. The gauge pressure will also show the pressure with the reducing valve is set. Show the supply 1 1/2 the valve with the 300 gauge of the volume, the 15 inches regulator, reducing valve pressure range 150 gauge, and 1 inch valve with 1/4 inch orifice, and it shows 75 pounds, 51 pounds, and then it goes up to 225 pounds at 48 pounds. Adjust the tension reducing valve spring with the remove the reducing valve steer with the bond with adjusting the connection reducing valve set with the give with the correct with the reducing valve pressure outlined above. After operating number 4, release plunge with the flow limiting valve with the pressure should drop with the remaining with the contact constant with the gauge rating will show with the loop pressure. Trigger the lever and adjustment show that become longer looser under slotted with the adjusting screw with the fulcrum on the side. And the arm with the turning the screws down until the steam blows with the regulator air inner drain tube with the turn with the screw back with until the stream blows stop and adjusting the screw should not be tightened with the full turn with the reside of the adjusting fill will not change. Alright, show the expansion cap, the unit fin radiator, the unit tube leader support, the inner feed nipple, the seat the bellows, the solenoid coil, cord connector, solenoid emission valve, condensating return steam inlet return, and condensation return. Normal level of water when the heat is off of the 9112 water seal fitting preventing the heat from reaching radiator valve with the valve is closed with also active with vacuum plunger relieve valve with the piping over the water to prevent freezing. Alright, so the copper tube return band of the vapor valve fin radiation number 1671 RR2 with the cord connector number 915 vapor retarder act with the retaining steam with the radiation constant with the discharge tube with the orifice with the return portion of the loop. The number RR1673 solenoid emission valve. Unit fan radiation solenoid emission valve with the number 1671, number 1675 with expansion cap number 2220. Number 920 vapor retarder unit fin radiation, number 9112 water seal drain tube 955 TT, number 955 vapor regulator, number S124 shut off drain valve and strainer T and train line. The number 1668 solenoid emission valve, the number OS1643 remote control overhead radiator, number 920 vapor retarders, pitch down. Number 95 vapor regulator includes reducing feature of the flow unit Carter. Number 955 drain tube. Number S124 on shut off drain valve. Train line strainer tree overhead heat layout. Alright, your thermostatic valve, allowing thermostatic valve with the figure 102, the U with the zone heat with the system of the number 900E, the U with the number 5955 steam regulator, number 1671EE bodies of the floor heat emission valve with the number 1672 and 1675, also with the number 918 retarder, the number 920EE with the conjunction with the 1668, the emission valve located with the return piping under the car, bells are also with the retard supply loops. Placing valve solenoid of the floor valve with the underneath screw with the jam net with the receptacle with the pull the receptacle loop from the plug, remove the locking ring with the holding the connector plug with the U with the branch Q's with 1622, pull out with the connector of the plug with the disconnect the two leads, remove the four hex nipples with the hole of the solenoid housing, remove the core retainer lock nut lift off the solenoid housing, assembly lift the old solenoid coil with place for the new coil and play with reassemble the reversing above the operation Caution, check the solenoid housing gasket closely, replace the never area, replace the solenoid manual control arm assembly, floor level, remove the control arm, remove the shield retaining nut, pull the control assembly out, reassemble the reverse operation, replacing solenoid needle valve assembly floor valve, remove solenoid housing assembly called for it under the replacing valve solenoid coil, 2, remove the manual control arm assembly is called under the replacing solenoid manual control arm assembly. 3, lift out core assembly. 4, using socket wrench Q 1625 and guide 1624. The needle valve assembly can be screwed 3 of the valve body and lifted out. 5, of the reassembly and reversing more operation above operation. Replace orifice sheet of the valve body with the U for the wrench 1623 with the remove of the cap over the return chain of the screw orifice sheet with the cap out of the cap. Apply new reassemble the reversing above the operation. Replace 1671E bellows with the valve body. Use wrench 1623. Remove the cap over the return chain with its number 1671E bellows out of the cap. Reassemble the reversion by reversing above operations. And then show the application of the washer new type bellows before inserting holding fixture 1671EE, number 22E new type, number 900E bellows. Your braze and welded continuous with a S897, 914, 920E, and 1671E bellows. Alright, water heating protection cap. Hot water is provided with this vapor company number 960 with the regulator with figure 103 with located with the outside of the water tank cable with the vapor to 5866 with the washer heater, vapor 525 mixing valve with the vapor to 948 with a two-way control valve swing with a check valve located inside of the tank casing. Water tank is protected against free with the steam protection loop of the water tank with the casing with always room with the water filling valves. Steam of the loop of the control by the vapor company number 960 the regulator. It will note with it noted the figure 104 the looping valve with the number 48 as the winter and summer same with the winter serve with the steam of the supply with the 960 regulator through the 948 valve and then through the heat protection loop of the wash for the water heaters back for the regulator. And the 948 valve, the only control valve that is a certain one is in the circuit when cylinder set. Steam is in the 960 regulator and cannot pass into the protection loop but entirely directed into the wash water heater. The check valve that prevents the steam backing into the protection loop. Steam pressure on the loop reduces the vapor pressure at the end of the loop is out of the open to the atmosphere. And the number 960 regulator found blowing that may be due to the dirt lodging between the valve and the sheet of the dirt. With usually dislodged with the closing the shutter valve the head of the regulator with a few minutes to allow the bell to cool. Then reopening the valve of the regulator continue with the blow. Bellows and protective device effective that should be renewed. Cold water outlet with the bottom of the water tank with flow through 3/4 inch IPS with the gate with the tap of the shower valve, the check valve with the colder water inlet mixing valve, branch circuit carrier with the cold water, the shower valve with the path of the pressure chamber, the end of the check valve with the 3/4 inch IPS with another angle drain valve, cold water inlet with the wash water heater, heated water then goes into the hot water inlet with the mixing valve with which is mixed with the cold water with the temperature of the water delivered into the car piping with a figure 135 with the figure 105 shown with the mixing valve. No, the figure 105 with the spring with the number 525 and 11 up over the bell with the number 525 104 locating with the position of the whole hot and cold water inlet ports of the proper position with the permanent right mixture of water. Bell's chamber is 135 called for the bell to expand with allowing more cold and less water, hot water to flow to the mixing valve to originally deliver hot water with the balance valve if the temperature was 135 degrees. If the repairs are made to valve adjustment with the plate with the cover with the on steam holding with the thermometer on with the hot water faucet with the regulating adjusting the screw with until the water temperature of 135 degrees is obtained. Steam train line. The steam train line with 2 7/8 of an inch extreme copper bearing steel pipe and insulated with a 1 inch thickness with a woven stone with a vapor S155 trapped inside of the low point, usually about the center of the car. See figure 106. Alright, this show, the figure 106, shows your 960 vapage regulator. Make sure there's no movement over the top of the lever of the clove with them open when the regulator is cold. And they have the list of parts. Steam protection loop filling valve, water heater valve, check valve, fitting valve, water tank casing, draining heat feed, 960 steam regulator, 948 valve, summer, winter, iron inlet, water heating steam protection loop. Our adjusting screw, packing nudge, bellows, top head, 3/4 inch right hand pipe thread, mixed water outlet, bellows, bottom plate, 3/4 inch right head pipe thread, cold water inlet, springland vapor, number 525, 11, 135 degrees, bottom cap, 3/4 inch right hand pipe thread, lock hot water inlet, piston, bellows, vapors, 525, 105, 135 degrees, bellows plate, plug, bonnet, and adjusting screw. And that is the figure 106, the S155 trap. Or the trap is used to drain off the condensation to prevent freezing. If it's not adjustable bellow type of the steam of the train line, the number is 900E. Bellow with expand with close of the valve of the trap should drain with the condensate. Only if the continue of the blow of the steam stream of the below a stream of steam is due either the dirt being lodged between the steam and the bellow of the steam of the defective bellows. And valves metallic conduity vapors company number 11 and 17 valve within the 2.5 inch by 2 Bush Bargo company type F12. Two metallic conduities are used with the vapor number 312 coupler operating rods from the end of the valves arranged so that these valves can be opened and closed from the ground from the car platform. Reverted manual maintenance instruction metallic steam conduities of the detail. Alright, number 124 shut off drain valve of the valve that's the same with the number 124 valve that's described on part P226 for the AC manual. However, the sum of the valve is not fitting with a hands fitting, having cast letters identifying circuits without having control figure. Below is no example of these handle the number 124 hot water jacket. Notice it's given the HW, the 9124 S and L steam to loop. These steam to loop 9124 to and then you have your 9124 overhead heat, which is given the O and H, number 124 shut off drain valve handles. And that is the reading of your Pullman heating, Pullman manual heating manual. Testing.